You're running in circles, scratching your head. What is the deal? Why can't I get my song to at least sound loud, punchy, have all these things, and when I upload it to Spotify, why is it so dang quiet? I've tried everything. I've run around in circles. Does this sound like you, friend? This video is, I believe, what you've been waiting for and looking for. And it's not going to be a whole bunch of fast cut, clickbait edits or whatever. Just please sit with me through this video. I'm going to walk you through the 3 nails in the coffin for mix loudness. This is going to help you. There are 3 things, and the first one is related to perceived loudness, making your mix sound like it's actually louder than other mixes that might be reading the same. That's the first. The second is another little tactic to do with perceived loudness. And the third is a hack that you can use to get actually louder songs uploaded on streaming platforms. Okay? Are we ready to go? Let's help you out with this, friend. Let's get this mixed loudness thing understood once and for all for you, because it took me way too long to understand this. Let's dive into number 1, perceived loudness, okay? This is going to be using clipping and saturation in your mixes. So those times that you're reaching for maybe a limiter, let's say you are wanting to, tame some of the transients on your drum bus. Instead of reaching for a limiter, consider reaching for a clipper. And what this is going to do is it'll do the same motion of reducing the peaks and taming the peaks of those like cymbal hits and those transients throughout your mix. But instead of squashing them down like a limiter does, a clipper will literally chop them straight off. So I'll link to a video about this at the end of this video where you can get deeper into clipping and understand what it actually does. But when it chops off that waveform, it's going to keep the perceived loudness as long as we're not distorting too heavily, okay? So the way that you set up your clipper and the settings with the clipper will all play into this. So again, I'll link to another video of mine where you can watch that and fully understand how to use clipping. But if you carefully use clipping throughout your mix, you're going to be able to make a lot of things sound louder, and you're basically by getting more headroom out of them. When you limit a track, you're squishing it together like this, and you're squishing in the transients and the peaks at the top. You're not cutting them off, you're pushing them down, and so you're actually reducing the dynamic range. With clipping, you can cut the transients off of a track and maintain dynamic range and give yourself more headroom. Okay? Controversial topic. Feel free to argue about it in the comments, but if you learn how to use clipping properly, I will tell you this as someone who's been mixing music full-time for 6 years, it's going to help you a lot. Learn about clipping. It's not always something you need to use, but when you do use it, it's going to help you get more headroom in your mix. More headroom equals more opportunity to turn it louder, okay? But that's not the full answer to this question of mixed loudness, okay? There's also other things to consider here. And of course, let's tie in saturation with clipping, getting good at saturation, using saturation. This is going to help your mix pop, and especially when you use it correctly in the mid-range. So let's move on to number 2 of this video. This is another thing to do with perceived loudness, the second nail in the coffin of mixed loudness, and it's something you need to understand, which is the mid-range. You ever go on YouTube and you see like every once in a while some thumbnail comes up and it's usually the same title that everyone uses. It's like the magic is in the mid-range. The magic is in the mid-range. You see that everywhere on YouTube. For some reason I do. But here's what all of those engineers are talking about in those videos. And if it hasn't hit home for you quite yet, I hope right now it does. This is why engineers opt sometimes to mix on like consumer speakers. Like I literally have like a mix cube sitting here, which is just a mid-range speaker. Maybe you're popping in your AirPods to mix on or checking on. It's because you want to check the mid-range. Loudness comes from the mid-range because of something in the human hearing spectrum called the Fletcher-Munson curve. So we have 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. And let's imagine a curve that we draw across that entire frequency spectrum of the human hearing range. This curve is going to pronounce the bass frequencies and pronounce the high frequencies, which means human ears hear differently different sections of that frequency spectrum. We perceive them differently. They need to be played at different volumes to actually get us that same level. Here's the deal with the mids. The human hearing perceives the mids differently than the lows and then the highs. We need more mid information in our mix to make it be perceived as louder. So here's how you're going to actually play this into the mixing you're actually doing in your DAW. As an example, open up a song you're struggling with right now and just boost like a section in the middle, in the mids, like go around the 1K to like 5K area and just boost that up with like a really wide cue and listen as the song, even with 1 dB of a boost there, or even 2 dB of a boost, listen as the song gets louder sounding, but doesn't eat up that much headroom. Now try making that same type of boost across the low end frequencies. Those low end frequencies eat up a lot of headroom in your mix when you boost them, right? But if you boost mid information, it doesn't take as much headroom, but the human ear perceives it as louder because of the Fletcher-Munson curve that we talked about. Okay, so that's number 2 of the second nail in the coffin of mixed loudness. It is, friend, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to download the free home mixing cheat sheet. It is our 1-page guide to getting great balanced mixes, and it's actually going to help you get a lot closer to that balanced mix that we're even talking about in this video. So I'll put that at the top of the description. It's absolutely free, and now let's get back to the video. Understanding that loudness in a mix typically comes from the mid-range. So if you have a really bassy and really sparkly mix, it's great. It can sound really awesome on monitors like these, but when you bring those to other things like maybe your phone or maybe you're listening in AirPods, you're not going to have that same pronounced mid-range. Whenever you take from one area, you give to another, and whenever you give to another area, you take from another. So the thing to master in pro mixing and also mastering is getting that mid-range right. The magic is in the mid-range. And all you need to take away from this video, friend, is that volume comes from mid-range. When we boost mid-range information, it is perceived as a louder change in the entire song than if we boost high information or boost low information. This is something called the Fletcher-Munson curve. You got to look it up. Every mixer needs to understand this, okay? Number 3, okay, the final thing here, and this is a hack, okay? It's a total hack for Spotify in particular, but this is to be used in consideration across all sorts of streaming platforms. How do you get your music actually louder on the streaming platform? Okay, this is the third thing that ties all this together to actually get louder mixes on all this stuff. And the third thing is by kind of hacking the algorithm. Now, this is, I wouldn't say conspiracy or conspiracy theory. It's more just like everyone has various theories about this topic and how it actually works. But if we look at Spotify and their requirements for uploading a song, it basically says, you know, we want it to be -14 LUFS. If it's louder, we'll turn it down. If it's quieter, we'll turn it up. This is something called the loudness penalty. Maybe you've seen like the loudness penalty plugin or stuff like that. All that's doing when you upload your song to the loudness penalty site or whatever it is, it's just saying, if you're in the Spotify, you know, tab of it, or you selected Spotify, it's just saying, how much or how little is this going to get turned down in relation to Spotify's algorithm and their requirements? So here's the thing. That number, my understanding of this, please, like, have at it in the comments if you have any further insight, but my understanding on this is that Spotify takes an average LUFS of the whole song, right? So let's say highlight your song, hit play, let it run through the whole song, right? And at the end, you had on, I don't know, WLM meter from Waves or Ulean loudness meter or whatever. There's some amazing ones out there. Whatever it is, measured your LUFS by the end. Spotify is taking into account the LUFS across the whole song. And there's also things like true peak to consider. We could talk about that in another video about mastering. What's important to know now is Spotify considers the LUFS of your entire song, and there are different sections in a song that may be quieter and may be louder. So when you're producing your song and you're writing a song, if you, let's say it's like a rock song, right? And let's say the band is playing full blast through the entire song, really aggressive, full energy, you know, cymbals and the kit is opened up and everything's smashing all through the verses, all through the choruses, all the way through to the end. What's going to happen there is once you hit that LUFS reading, it's going to be all squished to one dynamic level, and that entire dynamic level will be pushed up or down by Spotify, and you're not going to have a lot of variation. Let me make this really clear how this works. If you have a song with different sections of dynamics. Maybe you have a bridge where it goes way down, or maybe verse 1 is quieter dynamic, verse 2 is a quieter dynamic, and then your choruses are really big and loud. Now what's different between this song and the rock song that I gave as an example, the difference is that those sections are very dynamic against each other. This is something in mixing and music production we call macro dynamics. Micro dynamics is like little edits, little volume automation movements on one track itself. But macro dynamics is what are the relations in the entire volume between sections of the song, between verses and choruses. If you have more macro dynamics in your song, what this will allow you to do when it comes to uploading to Spotify is that average of the song will play out somewhere in the middle. And when this goes onto the Spotify algorithm to be reconsidered for loudness normalization, it's going to level that in the middle. But now what has happened is you're going to have sections of the song that actually play louder because the average of the song where the sections are quieter are pulling that average down in those moments, allowing for the louder sections to actually play louder on Spotify, normalized Spotify playback, than where they would all be relatively the same. So basically, if you have a song with a lot of consistent energy all down the middle, you know, just trucking along at the same pace, and you run that through and you get your LUFS measurements, that's going to be turned up or turned down according to where it is in relations to Spotify's loudness requirements. But if you have a song with lots of dynamic sections, some are big, some are quiet, Spotify will average that out. And in return, once it spits your song back out, you're going to have louder choruses. And this is when you flip between songs in a playlist and you're like, that one's really loud, that chorus is really loud. Because the dynamics are shifted. Now there's another way to do this. I have a video called Your Mix Bus is Set Up Wrong. It's called something very close to that. You can click on that video and find out a way to do something. I called it the limiter sandwich. It's a trick to change up those dynamics between the sections, and consider using the first two things in this video, which are clipping, saturation, okay, point 1. Point 2, Fletcher-Munson curve, understanding the magic of the mid-range, everyone's favorite saying on YouTube titles and thumbnails. Let's see if I name this video this. I don't think I will. But also consider using that Spotify hack as number 3. And friend, if you enjoyed this video, watch those other 2 videos I mentioned about clipping and about the mix bus. I'm going to put those right here. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to subscribe. We got lots more coming like this. Hit that like button. Let me know, comment. Do you completely agree or completely disagree with any of the things I said here? Let's open up the discussion. Let me know what you think. Friend, I'm so happy you're here. And watch that video. Yeah, I'll put it on this side. Check it out right now, and I'll see you over there.